Alright, what I'm going to talk about this time is we're talking about the Highwayman, about making opening shots. I showed last video doing the prologue, which you see here, which was the opening shot of my stage play called the Highwayman. I showed the problems associated with everything I did on it last year, 2025, things that need fixing, and how we look at getting past problematic stages. What I want to look at next is the next scene, which is Campfire in the clearing, and I haven't put this together even in a test run yet. I did actually. I did it with a video that I then realized I'd messed the video up, so I deleted it. But what I'm going to show you is putting this lot together in DaVinci Resolve and then getting a feel for how the dialogue's going to run. So if you remember from last time, we'd entered with the prologue and the last shot was these guys. Bang. And then the titles came up, and then we jumped to, this was my idea for kind of putting the set together. And I was saying about also how don't expect to be Ridley Scott this year or next. Expect to make some absolute crap, but I really highly recommend trying to put narratives together, because that's where this is going to count for people once it looks good. And anything you do now you can actually come back to, because it's AI, and restyle or rebuild or re-add in things or take things out. And I'm counting on that, and that's why I'm driving this now quite hard, and why I'm going to focus on content this year, because it's good enough now with the dialogue, with the people swapping out, and with restyling and background replacement. I'm going to do some research into the things that do those better than they did mid 2025. When I last did a video, lip sync wasn't even possible. I stopped because it became possible, and then went down the rabbit hole of research that I realised never stops. LTX2 I think will take the lead this year. It's looking that way at the moment, unless WAN come up with unless they drop their models as open source, which they've stopped doing. So anyway, let's get on with this. So what we got here is what those guys are actually shooting at with this crow, and here's the thing to look at. This is terrible. Look at all the state of that. I don't know if you can see it. Nano Banana version 1, but it's good enough for me for now. I'm not worried. Everyone's really into trying to perfect things, and I'm almost the opposite. I just want to get the story looking right. And
you completely bloody missed it.
By far the worst shot I ever saw.
yeah, so there we go. There's an example, and all this is dialogue shots, dialogue scenes, and I now need to put them together. I didn't do this last year. I'm going to put them together in a rough cut, see how it feels, see whether I want to give up AI and go and get a proper job, or not that there are any left, or whether it's going to work. And to speed things up conveniently, DaVinci Resolve, get it, use it. There's another one I've just seen recently called Vegas. I don't know if there's a free version of it. There's quite a few others, but honestly, DaVinci Resolve is the absolute amazing. It is amazing. One of these, what we have here, what do we have here? I have bounced it out. This is the timeline. I won't go into DaVinci Resolve use of it. The place I've been learning about it from is partly Copilot, but it seems to get it wrong a lot. Oh man, where did that go? Anyway, Cullen, someone or other, a colorist, I can't remember his name, I'll put it in the link. And there's another guy as well. They just do some excellent free tutorials on how to use this and the best ways to use it. It's a very complex beast. The free version gives you full facilities for doing everything. It's amazing. I use it to make all my final cuts. But what we're going to look at here, and I need to put these on just so that I can tell how it sounds, is a quick rough cut and of all the dialogue scenes that I just showed you. Bing, bing, bing. all the dialogue scenes from the scene called Campfire in the Clearing, which are all these shots filtered. Quite a lot of them. I haven't done them all yet, but the ones that you can see up to here are in here. Now let's have a quick listen through, and then we'll come back and have a quick chat about some things.
You completely bloody missed it.
By far the worst shot I ever saw. Moving on. You said something about wanted posters and a £10 bounty, D'Angelo.
Yes, I did. But the likeness says it's good, Silvio. Your pride won't take it. What do you say, Padre? The artist amongst us.
Artist?
He's right. I think they use one of those small furry humans they now have exhibiting at the London Park Zoo.
Monkeys, I believe they call them. Shipped in from Africa. You may be right, but for drawing or modelling, do you think?
Both, without a doubt. I actually have a copy in my bag.
Oh, really? I should very much like to see that.
The light isn't good now. Save the shop for another time, Silvio. Don't do it to yourself.
That's a rider. One horse, I think. Probably that young messenger lad. Yes, sounds like his horse.
Come forward, boy. Have you seen my likeness on this poster? Be honest now. What say you of it?
I have seen it, and it's not the best likeness, sire.
I did say monkey, didn't I?
It's awful, isn't it? It's shit. But this is the thing, right? You ain't going to make no Ridley Scott Gladiator in this year or next. And this is all a learning experience, isn't it? We're at school, we're in kindergarten filmmaking right now, but no one's here to teach us about the tools, so we're just kind of until something works. And I'm starting to realise why no one's making narrative, because it's shit. But I don't know. How do you make films? How do they do it with the real actors? I don't know. But yeah, so this was all done. Pretty sure all of it, when I look at that, was done with. Now these later ones might not have been, but most of the conversations I think were done. Yeah, one animate. Oh, I one animated that one. Okay, so that must have been soon after I got hold of it. Yeah, most of them were done with Infinite Talk using MagRef. And MagRef's a really good model. I use it with Infinite Talk a lot. I will now test it with some others, but I tried Infinite Talk with Humo, HUMotion, I don't know, Human Motion, I don't know what it stands for, instead, and it lost the character consistency in the test I did. Whereas MagRef keeps it. MagRef's really good for it. MagRef and Phantom, sorry. MagRef, as you can see, is 25 frames per second. MagRef, and which is another thing you kind of have to watch out for, because a lot of them end up being 16. Wanimate, I'm pretty certain, is 16 frames per second. And if you try and do 25, you'll have sync issues. But MagRef and Phantom are amazingly good for consistency of multiple characters. And the reason I don't, well, MagRef is image to video and Phantom is text to video, but I like Phantom in particular, but it's got a few problems when you try and use it. Oh look, here's one done with humour by itself, so yeah, I've been using it. Alright, well, I think I did some with OVI as well. Just this one I tried. 1 and 2 with Flash. My God, I've been doing all sorts of things. Anyway, this is not the point of this video. Yeah, I've been kind of near the end of 2025. Once I'd stopped doing research, a lot of new models, or close to ending, stopped doing research. A lot of new models for lip sync suddenly appeared. OVI, SVI2 Pro with Humo, oh, whatever. There's more. And I've just recently been testing Wanimate of a video to video lip sync replacement, so which means I can also now do modeling of, which I hadn't tried with Animate. I was just using it for swapping people back in, but doing modeling using the iPhone, using not my iPhone, my Android. And you can split the pose, make the pose with one film and do the talking with another. So that's interesting. I've yet to try it. So I'll be experimenting with Animate because I think it's got a few secret abilities that we haven't discovered yet. Yeah, there's a lot of different options, and that's another problem because it means you start spending a lot of time researching. But let's just talk quickly about a few of these. This one was quite... The first thing I noticed putting this together is there's a beat timing to dialogue, and if you leave it a little bit too long between dialogue, it suddenly feels weird, and if you put them too close together, it also feels weird. First thing I noticed was this guy turns his head to talk, and that's actually confusing. When I came back to it, I didn't realise he was speaking for a minute because I forgot. So I realised that's an error, something I need to watch in future dialogue stuff. Though I noticed in a film last night that someone spoke and we were looking at the back of their head when they spoke, and that was kind of, that worked. So I was like, well, how does this work then? Maybe it's because there were only two people in shot. But why I left this a little bit longer instead of switching it straight away was because of this guy and the musing, or I find it amusing, way he pointed the flintlock subtly at this guy when he critiqued him. I tried swapping that flintlock so many times, but anyway, watch. See, it's kind of funny. There's humour there. Anyway, so then the switch. I don't want this to be a massive comedy, by the way. I'm actually trying to make it quite dark, but I can't help but want to make things funny too, which is why I make this guy behave the way he does. But anyway, also you get what you're given with AI, and you can. I'm going to use the models to jump between lip syncs, but if you can start getting very different emotional responses, I noticed, which then makes it seem quite weird. And you'll notice he works really well, and I don't know why, whereas he works really like a bad actor and looks at the wrong place. That's another thing. I just cannot get this to look at the right person. Like if there's a person off shot over here behind him and you want him to look at it, how do you word that? And when I've been saying the man talks to the man in front of him, this will put a man there. The lip sync will put a new man there because it doesn't realise what this is. So getting it to leave this alone has been another large task. But you need these people in because that's how they do over the shoulder shots. So there's all these additional things that you never notice over the shoulder shot. I've never noticed this before. And then you bump into these other things like the 180 rule, like do not go around the other side of them and film backwards because it will confuse the viewer and it will look wrong, and you won't notice it till you do it. So there's all these rules that are applied that you don't know about until you break them. Now here's another good example where I could not get this guy to look right, and it's partly because it's side on instead of front on. I think there's a few new tricks with the new Animate and Sam 2. Sorry, Sam 3 that I'm going to try, but how much time am I willing to give these things? I probably shouldn't even bother. So for now, it is what it is, and we're jumping around. You can see again, this one, I think I've used a different model here, and I won't jump back to check it, but if you look at how he looks, some differences. So you get these problems, colorization differences. How much time do you want to spend? I think that is actually from a Phantom run. I did do the early shots with these guys using Phantom because it's so good at character consistency, placing three people together. And you know, look, it turns into a woman there. For some reason, Wan loved turning this guy into a woman all the time. I think it's because he's got a smooth face. We're back to this guy. Now all that speckling in the hair, I need to adjust. It's another thing. I think this came from me doing vase. Oh, look at that awful anti-aliasingness there. Anyway, these are all things that you have to just go, leave it, and move on. And then the other problem, I've worked on this so much. I've got absolutely no idea what it looks like on this, the real bugbear. This is where I was experimenting with trying to improve the quality in the first run, and I'm going to do another video on that because I found a new trick. But I need to change the models because I was getting these shadowed effects, but I'll talk about that later. And also the colorization was a problem, and this was one I extended. I'll put this stupid horse clopping on it. I'm going to mute that for a minute. But this is one I extended, and it worked all right, but again, it just looks shit. It just looks so fake, and you staring at this 1,000 times and you stop seeing it, and you think, wow, that horse looks really real, this is great, and you've just forgotten that actually everything else around it looks crap. Just looks so fake. But I just got lost in this, and that's actually why I gave up for a bit. I was like, get out of this game for a minute. So I took a couple of months off and did something else, wrote this software up. And then this is another one. You jump from this kind of coloration to this coloration, and you know, you can fix it in the mix, but it's a big fight, isn't it? Now this is an interesting one where you can see there's better detail here, and what I did was I used shortcut to zoom in on the shot there, zoom in on these guys, then I took that shot out, fixed it, brought it back probably to DaVinci Resolve or maybe Shortcut even, and composited it back in. I don't think you can see the seam. Oh, you can kind of there and there where it splits the tree. I can't see anything else. You'll notice I've switched that back to being wood. It was a car tarpaulin on the last video. Stuff like that. And you know, this isn't a bad shot by itself, but it goes slow motion, and for some reason, jiggity, I haven't dealt with it properly. And then the next problem you face, as soon as it switches, and I've done the same on the next shot, they look like different people. And it's very difficult to manage all this and get it right so that it wouldn't bug the viewer, which is why I've said it myself, but why when people go, Hollywood's done for, it's like, yeah, right. Not yet, but maybe sometime. But yeah, then there's stuff like the horse. What's that shadow doing under the horse? I added the shadow into this one. I used a video to show how you can do that, and then the shadow stays behind on that one. That's brilliant. I didn't notice that till now. And then this is another one. We're back to the plastic tarpaulin car business, and I could not get this guy to do it properly, to speak properly, and I've used about 3 different models, and that's another. These are the interesting challenges where you end up spending weeks trying different things, trying to fix one thing, and don't know. And then this just seems so cheesy. Yeah, I think you probably can guess who I used for the voice. For the voice, I use Vibe Voice on all of this, Enemy X Net version. It's just the easiest. And I use it to drive the audio, but I'm going to have to experiment with other methods. And I'll be doing that early on in the new year. And then I had some laughing under there that's been lost. But so, yeah, all in all, that's the first go. It's not a final cut. I mean, it's a cut. I'll probably drop that down and save that as a sequence back in Ames. I'm going to stop working on the Highwayman for a bit now. I'm already just feeling pain being reminded of certain shots I tried to fix. Look, there you can see where I brought them all in. I'm getting distracted now. I've got a few other things I want to work on, and you're probably sick to death of seeing my Highwayman too. So that'll do for now. That's the part 2 of this and the last video, and what I'll be doing next, I've got no idea. I haven't decided yet. Probably testing different ways to use Wanimate. But yeah, more coming soon. That'll do for today.